issues.
Thank you, Lesker Hurla. It's a similar question. If the Minister will ensure that there will be transparency regarding the outcome of the review for areas of natural constraint, and that all farm organisations will be consulted before the final approval and prior to approval being sought from the European Union, and that the category particularly of mountain-type land will be retained within this review. Many farmers are very concerned that, if that category was removed from it, that they will be at a severe disadvantage. And I would like to get assurance from the Minister. Thank you.
Apologies for the repetition, but under the Rural Development Regulation, and each Member State must designate areas eligible for payments under the Areas of Natural Constraint scheme. The ANC scheme replaces the previous Disadvantaged Areas, Less Favoured Areas scheme. The designation of eligible areas under these schemes to date has been based on a range of socio-economic factors. These eligible areas must now instead be designated using a set of biophysical criteria. In cases where a Member State does not introduce this new system for payment, the old scheme remains in place, but payments must phase out on a digressive basis. The biophysical criteria in the legislation to underpin the new system of designation are low temperature, dryness, excess soil moisture, limited soil drainage, unfavourable texture and stoniness, shallow rooting depth, poor chemical properties, steep slope. My department has commenced work on this project, and relevant technical experts are currently working on sourcing and analysing the data in relation to the new criteria. Department officials have also been in contact with the JRC, the Joint Research Centre, and DG Agri in the European Union Commission in relation to technical issues arising. This analysis will identify areas deemed to be facing these natural constraints, which will in parallel be subjected to a refinement process. It is envisaged that stakeholders will be consulted as this process develops.
I get that.
Minister, the issue here, I suppose, for a lot of people are wondering, as Deputy McConalogue said, that this extension that's been sought by both Ireland and Austria, is that because there was a view that you weren't going to be able to meet the deadline, that there was some delay in trying to get these mappings done and get this situation over the line? And because at the end of the day, you know, it's farmers' money out here that we're dealing with, and many farmers are very concerned that they're being kept in the dark with all of this, because for many times, and I'm sure you've been lobbied as well from the various farm organisations and individual farmers around the country, want to know when will the maps be done, when will we be able to see them, when will we get some sense of surety as to around where all of this is going to, because at the end of the day, particularly the farmers from the constituency I come from in places like Leitrim and Sligo and West Cavan, mountainous areas, they're really the areas that have a very serious natural constraint, and particularly the hill farmers, and they're the ones that are particularly concerned as to where this is going and what direction it's going in. So, Minister, if you can give us an assurance in regard to that mountain-type land will be maintained within it, and also in regard to how the delay that was expected, or why the Minister and the Department felt that it was necessary to look for an extension. Thank you.
Minister, 1 minute.
Well, as I said to Deputy McConalogue, I do certainly appreciate the importance of this income source for farmers, and I certainly appreciate it, given the regions that you referred to in your reply. And it would be wrong of me to give a guarantee, because I can't, as to what areas might be in and be out, but I would be surprised if, in respect to the aforementioned areas, there was any significant change. It's because of the importance of the payment that we took the opportunity to support the Austrian request, and we weren't alone. My recollection is the French and a number of other Member States were also supportive of the proposal, and that allows us, in the context of the uncertainty that's around all of this debate, it allows us to at least be able to say that for the period of time that the extension would be secured, that the status quo would remain. And I think that is in itself a reassurance. But we don't have, at this stage, a guarantee that the extension will be granted. The Commission is considering the request that was raised and supported by a number of Member States, including myself. But as I said, we will remain committed to the ANC system and to the programme for government commitment in respect of additional payments in 2018, and also to consultation with farmers in due course when the information is available.
Thank you, Minister. Final supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. The point you make that you can't guarantee that you're going to get this extension, and nobody can. And I suppose the question that raises immediately is, how far down the road of getting these maps prepared are you? How close to completion is this piece of work. If we are in a situation where we come back in a short period of time where the Commission says, no, you can't get an extension, where are we left then? Has the Department and the officials there at a stage where they're ready to produce these maps? Are we at a position where they're finding it difficult to try and get this new criteria set out and to try and map it out? Because that's important that people would know as to what level of preparedness are we at if we don't get an extension.
The obligation as envisaged now is that the process would have been completed in time for the 2018 basic payment scheme, which is this time next month. I think the 15th of May this year, so it will be around the same date next year. And I'm sure if that deadline remained, we would have met it. But as I said earlier, in respect of the uncertainty around all of this, I felt it was, if it were possible at a European Union level to have an extension of the current regime, the status quo, for any period of time, a year or whatever, that is preferable to the uncertainty that would have faced some farmers in respect of the current process. So that's why we supported the current regime. But as I said, if it was the case that we were obliged to have this process concluded, we could have, I'm sure we would have met that deadline. I mean, it would have been reckless of us not to, because not meeting it at that stage would have meant that we would be obliged to phase out the payments on a digressive basis, and we certainly weren't going to go down that road. So the judgment call that I had to make was it desirable to have an extension of the status quo? And I feel this is a judgment call, but I felt that for those almost 100,000 farmers who were in receipt of that payment, that was preferable than the risks associated with the entire review process.